And now, it's Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on CL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Gray.
The newest members of Vancouver Whitecaps FC met the media on Friday. The entire team doing some physical and medical testing today as they prepare to open training camp here in Vancouver on Monday. Toronto FC unveiled some new players over the last couple weeks, and is this a bloody big deal part 2? Or is it going to be another disaster? And plenty of interesting results coming from England as the FA Cup casualties continue. Good evening and welcome to Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk right here on CIL 650 Radio in Vancouver as we broadcast from the Barber & Co. studios. My name is Tyler Green. You can find me on Twitter at TylerGreenFC, the show at Soccer Talk 650. We are also available online at CIL650.com. That's CISL650.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching the webcast as well. The first half kickoff is brought to you by KO Kevin O'Toole and findaproperty.ca. Kevin has just, last week, sold 2 more properties, and that's what he can do for you. You can get your home sold with no hassle whatsoever. He also has a new condo listing in West Van available. Find all the details at a website called findaproperty.ca. That's Kevin O'Toole, licensed realtor with Royal LePage, Sussex, online at findaproperty.ca. We'll get into the starting 11 in just a few minutes. My co-host Simon Fudge, who also writes for Goal.com, will debate Canada's performance at the U20 World Cup qualifying tournament. Canada failing to qualify for the U20 World Cup. Who's to blame for Canada's failure in qualification? Is it the coach? Is it the players? Is it the CSA? And that just so happens to be our Barber poll tonight, presented by barberandco.ca. Who's to blame for Canada's failure to qualify for the U20 World Cup? You can tweet us your thoughts with the hashtag BarberPoll. On Twitter, it's SoccerTalk650, Tyler Green FC, Simon Fudge74. You can email us, soccertalk650@gmail.com. As well, you can weigh in on the Facebook page. You can also like that page. It is facebook.com/SoccerTalkVan. The Barber Poll is brought to you by Barber & Co., Gastown, Yaletown, the Financial District, Cambie and 18th, and on the corner of Main and 12th. Find them on Twitter at Barber & Co., online at barberandco.ca. James Sharman, Sportsnet soccer analyst, will join us at 11:15 this evening to discuss the latest Toronto FC news. They've made some big signings over the last couple of weeks. They got rid of Jermaine Defoe, brought in Josie Altidore. Sebastian Giovinco is now in, midfielder. Will we see something different from the bloody big mess that occurred last year? James Sharman will join us to discuss that, as well as some of his thoughts on what has been a splendid weekend of FA Cup matches. Some very big surprises, some teams out of the competition, some teams having to play a little replay here and there, some squads getting pushed to the brink, and a couple more interesting matches to finish up the weekend on Sunday. That discussion tonight as well with James Sharman at 11:15. As mentioned, the Whitecaps back at training. Training camp officially begun today with medicals and physicals taking place. The first on-field training sessions, those will come on Monday at UBC. Simon has a few more details on what the Whitecaps have coming up over the next few weeks, a little bit later on in the program. Should be interesting to see how this team really comes together. As much as there is very much a core group of players with this team, there are a bunch of new faces that are going to try to fit in and try to make this a better team. But will they? That's something that Simon and I will discuss. And we'll also ask Simon Fudge who he thinks is the biggest signing the Whitecaps may have made during this offseason. That coming up in the second hour of the program. Hey, get into Kia Vancouver right now for the 8-year celebration sale. Every new vehicle in stock is on sale. And there's a bonus, because every new vehicle purchase will receive a free new car buyer's package, complete with lifetime free oil changes, car washes, airport shuttle and parking service, and a Kia Rewards card. That's Kia Vancouver. It's BC's #1 Kia dealership. You can find them at 396 Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon or online at KiaVancouver.com. All right, a quick timeout, but up next, Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk and Goal.com writer Simon Fudge and myself. Well, we start up the starting 11. We debate the issues next.
Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on CIL 650.
Vancouver Street Soccer League is the beautiful game at its finest. Teams of men and women who are homeless, have recently been homeless, or are at risk for homelessness get together to train and play matches. It's great fun that builds skill and confidence, and the league sent players to 4 consecutive Homeless World Cups in Milan, Rio de Janeiro, Paris, Mexico City, and Poland. Find out more at VancouverStreetSoccer.com.
Vancouver Street Soccer League. Get into it and get behind it.
Not that your stylist at the salon isn't doing a good job, but man, you deserve the big red leather barber chair experience of Barber & Co. Here's how it works. Go to barberandco.ca. Book your appointment at one of the 5 barber shops in Gastown, Yaletown, the Financial District, Cambie at 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. You can just walk in, too, and get your hair cut, hot shave, buzz cut, fade, or beard trim experience. A great wedding party idea, too. barberandco.ca.
Is there more significance to what you're thinking than you might have realized? Today, the relationship between the quality of our thoughts and the quality of our lives is becoming more widely recognized, and many people have found that becoming conscious of God's presence can bring healing of all kinds of troubles. Hear first-hand experiences on the next radio edition of the Christian Science Sentinel.
Listen for the Christian Science Sentinel, Sunday mornings at 8:30 on CIL 650.
One word makes all the difference. Trust. You can't earn it overnight. You can't put a price tag on it. Trust must be earned. Over the last 30 years, BC Furnace has built their reputation on trust. Tens of thousands of customers now recommend BC Furnace by name for installation, maintenance, and repairs, in large part to one thing: trust. BC Furnace, keeping Lower Mainland homes warm and comfortable for over 30 years.
BCFurnace.com, BC's #1 choice.
This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CIL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
The intro tonight is the first piece of the puzzle to our producer, Greg Ballick's theme music. The music tends to have a theme during the program, so this is the first piece to the puzzle. Let us know if you can figure out the theme by giving us a tweet at Soccer Talk 650. 11 o'clock sees David Sandals join us. 11:15, James Sharman. A little late night for James over on the East Coast will be joining us. But right now, it is starting 11 time. You can tweet us your thoughts on all topics starting 11 on Twitter at Tyler Green FC, or my co-host and Goal.com writer Simon Fudge is at SimonFudge74, or of course the show is Soccer Talk 650, and we'll get right into it. Simon Fudge, #1 on the starting 11 is a little bit of U20. And how much of a disaster is Canada's failure to qualify for this year's FIFA U20 World Cup?
It's a big disaster. This country is in desperate need of a deeper pool of players to pick from at the senior international level. And that requires the young players that were, say, part of this tournament to get the experience, or even the younger ones, to play in under 17 and under 20 World Cups. Those tournaments go every 2 years. We have not appeared at the under 20 World Cup since we last hosted it in 2007. And that run will now continue for another 2 years. The lack of success at these levels really severely affects us when we want to try and qualify for the Olympics or for the big show, the Men's World Cup.
It's a disaster, but for me, it's more of a learning experience. It shows that we are not where we need to be as a country in the realm of soccer. But I think it's also something that is going to improve in the years to come. The Canadian MLS teams have their academies. That's not. People need to remember that this is not going to be an overnight success. These players are now going to be playing with, a lot of them anyway, with the USL Pro teams. So they're actually going to get some good pro experience against some better competition than a lot of the PDL or the U20 games or U18 games that they've been playing in. So yeah, it's a failure, but it also shows us that, hey, we're not as good as everyone thinks that we are, and that there's improvements to be made, and it's not going to be an overnight success. Hey, 2 years, you never know. That experience, those new experience from a lot of these players might just be able to show that, hey, they can qualify. It's disappointing. I don't think it's a huge blow if you thought that they were going to make it in the first place.
Number 2, and this is tonight's Barber Poll question, who's to blame for Canada's failure to qualify for the Under-20 World Cup?
You know what? For me, I was this question I think is a little bit difficult, and I think there's two parties to blame. One, I think that Rob Gale could have, I think training-wise, when they went over to Europe, they did a good job. The players performed extremely well. They've got some very positive results. But then it just seemed to disappear a little bit. And so I think he has to be blamed a little bit for Canada's failure in not getting them sufficiently prepared for this tournament. The other people that need to be blamed is the actual players. Here are a bunch of guys that had an opportunity to really show what they could do to continue the success that they've been having, with some of them playing at the U17 World Cup level, winning those games prior to this tournament over in Europe, and continuing that tradition, and they failed to do so. And social media is a killer. And numerous players posting photos after a loss about how much fun they're having in the pool. Having guys, basically giving a bunch of players, see how high they can make the tower of putting different guys on their shoulders, and guy on his shoulders, etc. And just a general goofing around. That's fine. I think you need, in a tournament that stakes are high, I think you need to have a little bit of fun, and you need to be able to loosen up a little bit. But coming after a loss and posting these photos, to me, makes it seem like you really weren't that interested in playing in this tournament after all. And it was, hey, if we make it, great. If we don't make it, big deal. You need to show a little bit of, to me, a little bit of tact, a little bit of commitment, because there's a lot of people out there, Canadians, that are following these guys who aren't enjoying that. If the men's hockey team, take this, if the Canadian men's national hockey team loses the gold medal game to win silver, and then afterwards you see a bunch of pictures of them goofing around doing whatever, do you think this country would stand for it? No, everyone would be pissed off, and this is the same thing.
Yeah, I think your point on that is a very good one, and I think there's a lot there that the players have to learn from that. For me, the blame is very collective and shared around. The players didn't perform. Kyle Larin was a real disappointment. How he, for example, turns out when in Orlando City in MLS, we hope to see differently, because goal scoring is a real need for our men's national team. But he was a major disappointment in this tournament. I expected far more from him, as I did from a lot of the players. Rob Gale, as you mentioned, I think has to take his share of responsibility. He got his selections wrong in certain games, particularly in the Cuba game. Didn't play Bustos. Should have changed the goalkeeper from Nolan Worth to Carducci, especially for that game after the blunders that Worth made in the loss to El Salvador. So he has to take his share of responsibility for that too. And I've also looked at the CSA a little bit in terms of, from a policy point of view and maybe resource point of view, was enough put in to allow this team to get enough preparation, get enough games, get enough time together, because that seemed to be all missing a little bit when they got down there, and all the excuses that came up, the extreme heat, but also the quality of the other teams they played against. There seemed to be something there that was a little bit more further along with the other teams in the tournament than what Canada had. They had some good qualities, but not enough to match up against a lot of the really good teams in that tournament for me. And could have there been more done by the CSA, at least for that program, to prepare for that tournament?
As Simon said, it is our barber poll tonight. Who's to blame for Canada's failure to qualify for the U20 World Cup? You can weigh in with your thoughts at Soccer Talk 650, at Tyler Green FC, at Simon Fudge 74. Jake Nemec joking around saying Stephen Harper. The Barca show saying Whitecaps, making a reference to Dwayne Rollins, because, of course, everything the Whitecaps do is wrong in the eyes of our media counterparts over in Toronto and Dwayne Rollins. All right, continuing on. Number 3 on the starting 11. Simon, did fans and media alike overrate this Canadian U20 squad?
Sadly, yes. And myself has to be included in that, and we all have egg on our faces as a result. This was a squad that's got some promising players, but obviously in the end, their lack of experience of, dealing with tough situations, playing in tough environments, what it's like to play, in Caribbean and a CONCACAF country that's got a lot of these things that you got to go up, and it was kind of evident in the end. I also think the quality of the other teams not only matched but exceeded what Canada took to that tournament in many ways. I watched the highlights of almost every one of the games in the tournament, and the thing that really stood out for me was the fact that a Mexico, a Panama, a Honduras, even the United States, and even El Salvador looked physically more mature and technically as sound, if not a little bit more sound, to what Canada put on the pitch in that tournament. And that really stood out for me. And so if you kind of put all those pieces together, initially we thought they were looking to be quite good, but in the end, and this goes to a previous point that I've made in the past, I think it was a tournament that just basically underlined the real distance that there is between the countries in this region, the CONCACAF region, that are way out in front, our leading countries, and ourselves, how that distance is still there and might have even gotten wider.
I think especially after what they did in the friendlies that they played over in Europe, where they were able to get some very good results. And, I think people were very excited about what this team might be able to accomplish and what they might be able to do. And, I think a lot of people did overrate them a little bit and thought they might have been better than they actually were. And like you said, it didn't come together for them. Some selections they got, player selections for the team on the team sheet, they got wrong. Some players just did not have good tournaments. Kyle Aaron, for example, was one of them. Here's a tournament where, it just did not come together for them. And it's one of those things, and it's funny because last week we talked about whether they could get it done or not. And I said, you know what? Cuba was the team that stood in their way for Olympic qualifying a couple of years ago, and I think they're going to be the team that stands in their way again this year. Same thing happened, and it's unfortunate that they just were not able to get it done. But I do think a lot of people fans, media, like, I think a lot of them really thought that this team was going to be much better than they were.
Yeah, I would almost go back to the El Salvador game, and the way they capitulated in that has almost been the moment where I think your hopes should have probably been dashed, because that was a game that they could have ill afforded to lose, and pretty much should not have lost the way the game ended up. Number 4, are you concerned that the Whitecaps players that were in this Canada U20 squad will not fulfill their potential for club and country?
I'm not overly concerned right now, because I think that it's a different game, it's a different system, and I think there's two different things. Not every guy that plays for the Whitecaps, all these guys could end up making the Whitecaps, and only a handful of them might go on to continue to play for Canada for whatever reason. I'm not overly concerned, because they're still young. There's still a lot of growth there for these players, and it's not going to be 1 or 2 years and they didn't fulfill their potential. Some guys are, some guys aren't. It's the nature of sport. I think with the USL Pro team and the fact that a lot of these guys are going to get some playing time with that team and not just sitting around, and I think that's sort of the big problem that the Whitecaps have had over the years. Look at a guy like Bryce Alderson, who was on this team, couldn't crack the MLS starting roster, couldn't really even crack the 18, but didn't really have any. He was sort of caught in between. He couldn't really, he was better than the 18s, didn't really have anywhere to play, didn't have that good competition to play. Gone now. But that's not going to happen now, because they've got this USL Pro team. And who knows, with the collective bargaining agreement, if they don't end up starting the season, you might see a lot of these Whitecaps, these young guys, playing for that USL Pro team anyway, and getting some valuable minutes, and maybe they might be a step ahead then of some of these other guys. I would say it's way too early to see if some of these guys are not going to fulfill their potential, but give them a couple years, see where they are with this team. Some guys are going to fail. Some guys are going to make it. It's going to be a guessing game. But this particular tournament is not going to make or break a lot of these players.
Yeah, I think I can concur with a lot of the points that you made. Their futures, I think, for me, are bright. But what they need is they need to take what they can as lessons from this really disappointing experience in Jamaica, and take it and have it be a major lesson for them as part of their careers as they're moving forward. Because it's obvious they still have plenty to grow as players, and with that and the fact that they're going to have an opportunity to play against men in USL Pro, hopefully their continuum on the development track, which they still need to be on. And let's face it, I think this was a tournament that it pretty much gave the indication that they've still got a long way to go, all of these players. We hope that being in that USL Pro environment will just continue to have them move along in the right direction, and at some point we will see them fulfill that potential that we feel that we have seen in glimpses at this point.
Get into Kia Vancouver for the 8-year celebration, because every new vehicle in stock is on sale. That's Kia Vancouver, BC's #1 Kia dealership, 396 Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon, or online at KiaVancouver.com. You're listening to Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk right here on CL 650. My name's Tyler Green. Alongside me is Simon Fudge, and we are in the starting 11 here on the program. And number 5, with the CBA discussion seemingly stalled, are you concerned the Major League Soccer season won't start?
Yes, I am. I keep thinking of what our good friends Jonathan Tannenwald and Kyle McCarthy said to us last year when we kind of raised that question to them about their concerns, and they expressed quite concertedly that they were worried that this was going to be a problem, and I'm starting to wonder myself. The union have obviously taken a very firm stance that they want free agency, and they seem to be willing to strike over that very issue. And the fact that they do, and the timeline now to being sort of a little over about 6 weeks to this new season supposedly supposed to start, I wonder if these CBA talks and where they are and the issues that are there are going to basically dominate North American soccer news in the next month.
It is very scary right now, because who is going to be the one that sort of trips and falls. MLS is very much not wanting to give that free agency talk, giving that to the players, and the players basically coming out and saying that that is the one thing that they desperately want and they are willing to go on strike for. And that's going to be really, really interesting to see if, who basically breaks first. And that, I think, is the fact that both sides just seem so entrenched that, yeah, I'm worried that this isn't going to start. And the scary part is that, Major League Soccer is gaining ground. It's building. It's getting a foothold in more mainstream media, getting more foothold in national media, and really taking steps forward into becoming almost a Big Four sport in North America. And, you go on strike and people are going to forget very, very quickly. And I think right now, all these conversations, it's getting a lot of talk within soccer media. I don't think it's hit too far outside of that because of the fact that Super Bowl is coming, and that's sort of the biggest sporting news that's happening right now. But once that Super Bowl is over, if there's not some big sporting news, this is going to start to come up in media and more of a mainstream media. And I think there's going to be a lot of those fence sitters who you need to translate into soccer fans. You need them to start coming. Those are the ones that are going to start to disappear, and that's going to be very, very dangerous.
Yeah, I think it will be. And so it'll be very interesting to see where the level of urgency starts to move, if it doesn't start to move already on that. Number 6 is Sebastian Giovinco agreeing a move to Toronto FC, a huge moment for MLS.
I was thinking about this one, and while, it's great because here is a player that is still fairly young. He's 27. He's kind of in that prime time sort of age group. Here's a good opportunity for them to really make make Major League Soccer that much bigger, get people a little bit more excited. But at the same time, he's not one of those really huge names that, if he was a Steven Gerrard, for example, but 26, 27 years of age, where you have, these teams that are just wowed by him, and all of a sudden he's coming to Major League Soccer, then I think you've got something there. But he's a player that's sort of on the cusp of making the Italian national team once in a while, performing fairly well, but not playing a heck of a lot lately anyway with Juventus. So for me, it's good. It builds the profile of Major League Soccer, but it's still not that huge move that shows that Major League Soccer is still is one of the best leagues in the world and becoming one of the best leagues in the world. I think it's a nice piece to improve it, but it's still, for me, not just a massive move for MLS.
I think it is a huge moment. The thing about this league getting that level of respect around the soccer world is its ability to acquire top players in their prime. And so for me, this is at least a step forward in that direction. I take all the points that you've stated, the fact that he's not been playing regularly with Juventus and he hasn't been part of the Italian national team setup for some time, but it still gives, I think, the league some respect in the sense that, this was a player during this January transfer window in Europe that was linked with several clubs in Europe, and suddenly, the option to go to Toronto FC was the one that he ultimately took. Now, it was obviously dismissed by certain people that said, oh, well, he's just gone for the money. But I think in some respects there's going to be one or two people out there going to say, well, it is interesting that he opted for that choice as opposed to these 3 or 4 other well-respected choices that he could have gone to, either within Italy or somewhere else in Europe. So it's going to get more people even over there, for example, in Europe or South America or anywhere, sort of saying, what is it? What is it with this MLS? What is attracting these people? Is it just money, or is there something more to it? And I think that's an important thing. The league will need more of these signings, and maybe, as you say, more more legitimate signings of players in their prime to really see it move to the next level. But it does feel like it is a big turning point.
But I counter that with Jermaine Defoe comes here, but he's, and a lot of people said, for the money, for the opportunity to play week in, week out and get on that World Cup squad. But he bolted very quickly and went back to the Premier League. So, I think people will also look at that and say, well, it's still, some players went there and they got out very quickly.
Some will say it, and some will say the one side, and some will say the other. But I think the league is garnering respect, even if it is at a sort of a turtle's pace of progress. It is, I think, moving in the right direction and earning people's respect, slowly but surely.
We focused a lot on the Canadian U20 squad in the first part of our starting 11, as well as a few Major League Soccer issues. In just a moment, we focus on the Whitecaps. We'll do that next.
Follow us on Twitter at SoccerTalk650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CIL 650.
What do you want? A balcony so high it looks down into soccer matches at BC Place.
A pub I can walk to with a dozen big screens.
Kevin O'Toole has created findaproperty.ca to help you find it. Designed to be simply straightforward, findaproperty.ca is an invaluable tool. That's Kevin O'Toole, Royal LePage, Sussex, for buyers and sellers in the greater Vancouver area like you. So find what you want.
A backyard big enough for my own soccer pitch.
At findaproperty.ca.
Right now, Kia Vancouver's 8-year celebration is on. Every in-stock vehicle on sale. And with Kia's half-price payments event, they're paying half your payments on select 2015s, financing only. Plus, you have a chance to win a trip to Las Vegas or Mexico. And new Kia buyers always get free lifetime car washes, oil changes, airport shuttle, and parking. So come join BC's #1 Kia dealership, celebrating 8 successful years of the best deals in town. Kia Vancouver, Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon, and KiaVancouver.com.
Because the beautiful game's always been very social. Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk with Tyler Green invites you to get social with them. Join Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on Twitter and Facebook for the latest on the show, promotions, previews, game coverage, and prizes. Plus, they love it when you interact. Get into the game. Get social with Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk. Become a friend at Facebook.com/SoccerTalkVan and follow the guys on Twitter at SoccerTalk650, Tyler Green FC, or Simon Fudge 74.
Sold in over 70 countries, Italy's signature white wine is Santa Margherita's Pinot Grigio. And here in Canada, it's the #1 selling 750 ml bottle. Santa Margherita's Pinot Grigio is also the only wine sold in Canada to be carbon zero certified. This means the environmental impact of its production has been offset by investment in environmental initiatives. After all, exceptional wine can only be made in an exceptional setting. Outstanding quality, sustainable production. Santa Margherita Pinot Grigio. Available at BC liquor stores.
Money. It's your money with Fred Snyder.
The major reason why we don't achieve our financial goals, the major reason why we don't achieve most of our goals, is because we procrastinate. Why do it today? I can do it tomorrow. So we need to develop a mindset that says, if it's worth doing, I'm going to do it now.
Fred Snyder, Saturday mornings at 8 and Sunday mornings at 10 on Smooth and Easy, CIL 650. This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CIL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
MLS camps officially opening. Simon has the details on the Whitecaps over the next week or so.
Yes, there'll be preseason training at UBC all this week at Thunderbird Stadium to be specific. So if you want to go out and see them play, I think most of the days they'll be training is about 10:30 a.m. local time. Then they head off to Tucson, Arizona on Monday, February 2nd for a 9-day training stint down there. It will include preseason games against New England Revolution, San Jose Earthquakes, and Houston Dynamo. On Sunday, February 15th, when they come back from that stint in Arizona, they will play the University of Victoria Vikings in their annual preseason game at Centennial Stadium in the BC capital.
If you're watching the webcast at CIL650.com today, you'll notice Simon's Umbro UEFA Euro 96 shirt, the England shirt, original. Simon, quit doing that, please. It's about 3 sizes too big for Simon because he was a much larger man in 96. But an original. That you can't that's retro as you can get.
Kept it as in good shape as I possibly could, so.
Simon has what the kids like to call these days swag.
Yeah, that's what they call it, don't they? Yeah. And I ended up just keeping this stuff. Maybe I thought it was always just called stuff, but
Simon has actually lives in a 6-bedroom house. It is all his old clothes in the 5 other bedrooms. Still to come on the program today, we'll have a chat with David Sandals of Expert Physio about Manchester City and their decision to fly so late in the week and how that affects your body. That's in the second half of the program at 11 p.m. We'll also hear from Sportsnet's James Sharman as we talk Toronto FC. That's at 11:15. But right now we continue with that starting 11. And we're now at number 7 on the starting 11. And Simon, it was like a month ago or so, even longer than that, the Whitecaps FC 2 was announced. And currently they are still promoting their starting 11 ticket packages for the first 1,100 season ticket holders. Is that troubling you that they are still advertising it, as it seems that 1,100 people have not bought in yet?
Not at this stage. I think the whole WSC2 thing needs a little bit more awareness. It might need, CBA crossing fingers for a new CBA. The momentum of a new MLS season in early March maybe will help towards all of that. As it stands right now, we're about 2 months out, more or less, from that new USL Pro season, which will probably start right around the beginning of April, I would think. And I think there needs to be a few things that's going to kind of wake people up from the sort of off-season slumber that I think most of the people that would be interested in buying into such season ticket packages need to kind of come out of. And probably one of those things will be the appointment of a new head coach, which we should get an announcement sometime this coming week. And probably also as well the squad announcement, what players will be actually in that team when they start. I think that will then quickly galvanize interest. I could actually see them getting up to this number and doing so very, very quickly as they get closer to their first game of the season.
Yeah, for me, it's a little bit troubling in the sense that people just haven't bought in yet, and they're still kind of looking at it. And I think there's sort of that distraction of Major League Soccer. And, as much as we don't want to see a stoppage in Major League Soccer, that might actually get more people excited for USL Pro 2, of wanting to see professional soccer in the city. I think there's still time for it to build and grow. And like you said, they need to start making some announcements. They need to find a coach and make that announcement. We need to start finding some of these players that are going to be playing on USL Pro 2. And that could, that doesn't necessarily have to be a Marco Bustos is being put on loan with Whitecaps FC2. That could be Jackson Farmer is now signed to a USL Pro 2 contract. Other players, as an example, are now signed to a USL Pro contract. So they need to start making those announcements and get people interested in the team, getting people interested in what is being held there. And, I think it'll come, but there is some concern for me that they haven't been able to really finish those season ticket holder packages off yet.
One other thing to point out as well, the schedule has not come out yet, and I think that too is probably one of the things that needs to occur sooner rather than later, and then you could probably then see the ball starting to roll with momentum on that. Number 8, do you like USL Pro's new two-conference alignment for 2015?
Yeah, I really like it. Otherwise there was going to be so many teams, you wouldn't even get to play some of those teams. So right now I do like that because now you're really focused on that Western Conference. You get to see, a Seattle, a Portland, and those rivalries home and away. And then you get to play some of those teams in the East as home and away. And I have to think that USL Pro is going to make sure that, for example, Vancouver and then in turn Toronto and Montreal are all going to get to play one another and build those rivalries. And then perhaps somewhere along the line you're going to find some of those former rivalries that, when some of those teams were in the NASL back in the day or USL soccer when it was, USL 1 kind of thing or the A-League, what have you, that have now transferred into this USL Pro, that some of those Eastern teams will play the Whitecaps, etc., and create a little bit of excitement that way. I do like what they did with the two-conference alignment. I think it works, and I think it's also something to just make it a little bit more economically feasible as well.
I like it as well. And for all the points you say, the rivalry games with the likes of Seattle and Portland, I think are going to be very important. And I think the door being open there in terms of the cross-conference games, giving Whitecaps FC2, for example, the chance to play Toronto FC2 and FC Montreal, maybe potentially home and away, I think is going to be a really good thing as well. I think from the player point of view of the players who are going to play in it, it will give them good grounding for the rigors of MLS, because even though there are a lot of teams close together on each side of the conference, there's still quite a bit of travel there, and also so you have to deal with all of that, but also going down into some of those really warm summer climates that you have to do when you're playing in MLS. I think there's a lot to it that is an upside for the players that are going to be playing in it, as well as for the consumer wanting to watch these games.
Number 9 on these. The other thing that I like, by the way, is just travel-wise, like you said, the fact that consumer-wise, you have a better opportunity, I think, to be able to go to some of these closer towns than you would, say, being able to go across country somewhere further down. So I think that's also an exciting proposition as well.
Absolutely.
Number 9 on the starting 11. Johnny Leverone. Will the Whitecaps miss Leverone this season?
No, not so much. Where Andy O'Brien had a notable impact, and we spoke about how I think he will be missed in some respects this coming season. I think the fact that Leverone kind of drifted out of being in the first team reckoning as a regular last season, I don't see it having the same kind of impact and being the same type of loss. Now, without having had a good look at Diego Rodriguez, the new loan signing, properly as yet, and not necessarily knowing what someone like Pa Moduka, who's just come in this week, is going to be able to provide, Carl Robinson's gone out and addressed the lack of depth at center back. And I think in a lot of respects, if you're going to, I don't think Johnny Leverone is going to be a name that's going to be brought up that regularly in terms of, boy, they really missed him this year.
I would agree with you. Here's a player that came to Vancouver. There was a lot of hype, a lot of excitement about what he could potentially do with this Vancouver Whitecaps squad, and we just never saw it. We never saw him really break into the first team, really take ownership of that. There were sometimes questions about whether or not he was in shape. Came into camp last year in a lot of shape, had opportunities, just never really came in and really took charge of the position that, by all accounts, was his for the taking. And are we going to miss him? No, we're going to miss a guy that was a substitute at best. And I think the Whitecaps saw that. And yeah, they would have liked to have had him back, because I think there was some potential there, and there was that, the prospect of him being a good Major League Soccer defender. But at the same time, him not being here, I think he's one of those players that you probably could have replaced quite easily. And right now, it looks like the Whitecaps have looked like they have gone out and tried to do that. And there's also been some great leaps and bounds made by Christian Dean as well. So I think that's going to soften the blow of a Johnny Leverone missing.
Tim Parker is another name that should be thrown in the mix. Be interesting to see what he can do in terms of providing minutes as well this year. Number 10, was Pamadou Ka a good pickup by Whitecaps FC for the new season?
Yeah, you know what? I think he is. I think he might be that link to try to make a guy like Kakuta Mane that much better. They're good friends. Possibly adding to that little bit of a father figure that Andy O'Brien had with Kakuta Mane. So I think in terms of that, it might help him a little bit. As well, you know, he's a player that's been around, you know, knows a bunch of different leagues, has played in Major League Soccer, hasn't necessarily had the greatest of success, but is a guy that can play in the league at least, and is going to push, I think, a guy like Diego Rodriguez into becoming a better player and becoming that starting player as well. Also, giving a little bit of competition really for all those guys, whether it's Rodriguez, whether it's a Christian Dean, as well as a Tim Parker. It's going to create some competition between all of them, and I think make them all a little bit better. So I think it was a good pickup in terms of, now we don't know what he's making, but I would say in terms of the dollar figure and what he can bring to this squad, I think is a good, you know, veteran player who's been around, and somebody that is somebody that you can put into the lineup, but you're not necessarily going to count on for big regular minutes.
For me, the verdict is still out on this signing, and I haven't had that kind of unassured feeling of most Carl Robinson signings. What worries me a little bit is that Pamadou Ka was part of a very leaky Portland Timbers backline last season, and that's something that kind of just came into mind for me when he was unveiled this week. He's also prone to picking up the odd booking here and there, so you know he's not afraid to sort of be physical and throw himself around. Now, in many respects, maybe partnering him with Kendall Waston is going to give a good level of physical presence that could be relatively intimidating to a lot of teams during the course of the season. It'll be interesting to see if they both partner up well. That'll be the big question, is all of these different center backs, how they all sort of partner up as we go into the season. I'm also concerned about his durability because he did have some injury issues last year. He is 34 years of age. So, you know, playing on, again, he played the last 2 seasons on turf most of the time. He's going to do so again. You know, will he be able to give the kind of minutes that they're looking for him to be able to provide? Or is there going to be issues of him potentially breaking down? Fortunately, he's got probably the best sports science group around him to make sure that that isn't the case. But there is a bit of concern for me with this signing.
I think the answer that you're looking for is you have a very big concern over this pickup, Simon. So it wasn't a good pickup.
It's a bit worrying, but you know, I'll be fair in the sense that a player changes his environment, new team, and it's suddenly a completely different story, night and day.
It's always about a coach thinking that he can do something better with a player that may not be living up to his potential. Hey, right now, the 8-year celebration at Kia Vancouver is on because every new vehicle in stock is on sale. That's Kia Vancouver. It's BC's #1 Kia dealership. You can find them at 396 Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon or online at KiaVancouver.com. Finally, on the starting 11, Simon, which Whitecaps player are you most looking forward to seeing in action in 2015?
Diego Rodriguez, actually. I've looked at a little bit of his videos, and I'm kind of intrigued to see how he kind of comes in and fits into the league, and fits into the center back roles, and how he would partner up alongside Kendall Waston. Young guy, made the move to Spain, looked like his career might take off there. Didn't happen. Came back to his native Uruguay, joined a modestly sized team there, and Carl saw him down there and really liked what he saw. Now, I've looked at a bit of his video. He's tall, he's lanky, but he does have good timing and presence to intervene and cut things off when need be, which is a big trait of a good center back or a good defender. So I'm interested to see what he's all about and how he develops in MLS.
And apparently just a heck of a nice guy, according to Harji Johal, hard journalist on Twitter, who was at the event on Friday to meet some of the new faces. He talked through a translator, but apparently can speak English very well, and thought that her New England Patriots baseball hat was in fact a baseball team.
Wow. There you go. I mean,
by the way, just to go off track, very much a bandwagon jumper, I think. Manchester City, the New England Patriots. Girl needs to get some original teams, I think, that aren't...
But she took Italy in the World Cup, Tyler, so is that really a bandwagon?
That's true.
She picked the one team that didn't actually play any football in that tournament.
She's going to send me an angry text, I think, very shortly.
I'm originally from Hamilton, and I can tell you right now there are definitely bandwagon Italian soccer fans out there.
Yes. All those guys that you would never think are Italian are partially Italian during World Cup time, right?
My school was loaded with jerseys. I don't know where they came from. They're all suddenly everyone's Italian.
All right, back on track. The player I'm most looking forward to is a player that's actually already been here, and that's Kekuta Manneh. We've seen so many glimpses of him doing some great things, but we've also seen him just disappear at times. And I think now he has another season under his belt. That's 2 years now. And I think this is the year that we might actually get to see what he can do on a regular basis. Ka, a good friend of his, sort of that good, I think, player that's going to help him maybe take his game to the next stage, the next level. And so Manneh is a guy that I'm really excited to see what he can do. Can he make that vast improvement from what we've seen over the last couple of years where, like I've said, we've seen the glimpses? Is this the year that he's going to break out and be stupendous? So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do this year.
Yeah, you're right. But that was one of the first player I thought of in terms of a returning player, Gershon Kofi. I'm wondering, will we see his best season yet? One where his performances are just consistent right across the board.
And, of course, Matthias Laba saying he wants to score some goals this year, earlier this week. So it's going to be, I think there's a lot of players to be excited about with this Whitecaps team. Well, that's a wrap for the starting 11, but we'll take a quick break and back with the latest news, notes, and rumors from around the globe. Simon has some of the scores from England. He, as well, in news and notes, has some of the big tournaments that are happening around and some of the latest from those. All that is next.
Follow us on Twitter at SoccerTalk650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CIL 650.
The Straight Razor Shave, a leading man classic. Steady hand coaxing the rugged face back to smoothness. This nearly lost art has found revival at Barber & Co. Hot towel, straight edge blade, and your face. It's an experience that reminds you you're alive. You're a man in the company of history's finest men. Start at barberandco.ca. Pick your barber shop in Yaletown, Gastown, the Financial District, Cambiet 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. And relax into the big leather chair for the shave of your life.
Right now, Kia Vancouver's 8-year celebration is on. Every in-stock vehicle on sale. And with Kia's half-price payments event, they're paying half your payments on select 2015s, financing only. Plus, you have a chance to win a trip to Las Vegas or Mexico. And new Kia buyers always get free lifetime car washes, oil changes, airport shuttle, and parking. So come join BC's #1 Kia dealership, celebrating 8 successful years of the best deals in town. Kia Vancouver, Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon, and KiaVancouver.com.
Whether playing soccer on this continent or football on every other, Umbro is the name worn by top players and teams worldwide. Those same uniforms are available for your team or club at Umbro.com. Umbro, proud to be the official supplier of Canada's men's and women's national teams, is celebrating 90 years of expertise in the game. If you want your club to play like the pros, dress them like the pros at Umbro.com. Umbro, the heart and soul of football.
Hi, I'm Jack McIver. When a customer comes to our store after shopping around and see what they haven't seen in other appliance stores, washers and dryers, plain and simple. 3 years full guarantee, 5 years guarantee on the motor, 10 years on the transmission, big capacity, much better performance, our professional delivery and installation, all for less than the other guys. And after 50 years in business, McIver's is the best at what we do. McIver's, we're at 610 Southeast Marine Drive. Call 879-5222 or visit us on the net at mcivers.biz.
Hey, babe. How's it going? Wait, are you high?
Maybe. What's the big deal?
You're driving.
So? It's not like I'm drunk. Who told you it's dangerous? Your parents?
No. I guess they don't think driving high is a big deal either.
What are you saying if you don't say anything? Talk to your teens about the dangers of drugs and driving. Learn more at silencecanbedeadly.ca. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free Canada.
This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CIL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
Hey, I've been a Pats fan since 2000. Of course, she was a fan just before the year they won their first Super Bowl. That's from Hard Drives. Headlines from around the globe in a second, but first our England scoreboard, Simon.
Yeah, the fourth round of the FA Cup has been a real famous one. Cambridge United held Manchester United to 0-0 last night. Today, Chelsea lost 4-2 at home to Bradford City, and Manchester City lost 2-0 at home to Middlesbrough. 3 games tomorrow: Bristol City versus West Ham, Aston Villa versus Bournemouth, and Brighton Hove Albion hosts the holders Arsenal. On Monday, Rochdale plays Stoke City.
All right, let's check the latest headlines from around the globe, taking a look at the news, notes, and rumors from around the globe. It is brought to you by Steve Nash Sports Clubs. That's snclubs.com. Simon, very quickly, African Nations Cup and Asian Cup.
Yeah, African Nations Cup, there have been 10 draws from the 16 group games played. Congo, Tunisia, Senegal, and Ivory Coast all lead their respective groups at this moment in time. And in the Asian Cup, they're in the semifinals now. South Korea will play Iraq on Monday, and the host Australia will play the United Arab Emirates on Tuesday.
All right, get into Kia Vancouver. It's the 8-year celebration. The celebration, because every new vehicle in stock is on sale. It's at Kia Vancouver. It is BC's #1 Kia dealership. It is 396 Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon. It is online at kiavancouver.com. All right, coming up, the substitutes. Plus, we'll be joined by Sportsnet's James Sharman, who joins us tonight to talk Toronto FC, who have made a lot of changes, a lot of moves. They've signed Josie Altidore, Sebastian Giovinco. Are they on the right track after last year's debacle? That's at 11:15 this evening. All that in the second half of the program. But David Sandals talks injuries in just a moment.
Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CIL 650.
What do you want?
A balcony so high it looks down into soccer matches at BC Place.
A pub I can walk to with a dozen big screens.
Kevin O'Toole has created findaproperty.ca to help you find it. Designed to be simply straightforward, findaproperty.ca is an invaluable tool. That's Kevin O'Toole, Royal LePage, Sussex, for buyers and sellers in the greater Vancouver area like you. So find what you want
A backyard big enough for my own soccer pitch.
at findaproperty.ca.
Right now, Kia Vancouver's 8-year celebration is on. Every in-stock vehicle on sale. And with Kia's half-price payments event, they're paying half your payments on select 2015s, financing only. Plus, you have a chance to win a trip to Las Vegas or Mexico. And new Kia buyers always get free lifetime car washes, oil changes, airport shuttle, and parking. So come join BC's #1 Kia dealership, celebrating 8 successful years of the best deals in town. Kia Vancouver, Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon, and KiaVancouver.com.
The Vancouver Street Soccer League isn't out to change the world. Just give the men and women in our homeless communities a chance to play soccer. Regardless of skill, everyone's included in practices and matches with teams from UBC, the Vancouver Police Department, the Vancouver Mayor's Office, and more. The focus is fun, but it builds skill and confidence, and that can change someone's world. Find out more at VancouverStreetSoccer.com.
Vancouver Street Soccer League. Get into it and get behind it. And let's change the world.
When you're wearing uncomfortable shoes, stress starts from the ground up. For over 70 years, Harry Minnick Shoes has been providing custom footwear that looks great and, more importantly, feels great. Check out their wide selection of both men's and ladies' brands from top names like Wilkie, Joseph Seibel, and especially Sass. Then get professionally fitted, ensuring that you walk out with comfortable feet. Harry Minnick Shoes, the perfect fit every time. 640 6th Street in New Westminster.
This is CISL Vancouver. Smooth and easy. CIL 650. CIL 650.